Good morning again.
Good morning again.
I am so excited to be here and share with you, and you know, it's just amazing how Spirit works. The center here was gifted with some books, and the books are called Giving Thanks, The Art of Tithing. And so I decided, okay, I'll buy one of these, $10. They're on sale, they're over here on the book table. And I thought, I'll buy one of these. I already tithe, but you know, I want to see what this is about. So I read through the book, and I had various feelings as I read through there, but that was good for me to examine. What amazes me is we just had Judy Jackson stand up here and talk about this opportunity to give globally. It's all about the flow in our lives. How willing are we to be open to giving thanks for everything and showing that thanks by giving of our lives? So I just think it's amazing. So now you get to hear my talk about giving thanks, the art of tithing. Everything starts with a thought. So what kind of thought do you have when I give you that title? I'm sure a lot of people have a little fear there. Oh my God, I don't want to hear another talk about tithing. I can't believe he's going to say that. Why did I have to show up today? All kinds of things like that. But you know, for me, those are all in my past. And I've learned to embrace life a little differently now. It all starts with a thought. And that thought I can choose to be positive, to be negative, or some to be neutral. So who is this lady, Paula Ryan? You know, she doesn't have licensed practitioner after her name. I've never heard of her before. And here she's writing a book and telling me that, you know, I should read this book. Well, one thing is, the foreword is by Reverend Catherine Ponder, and she is a New Thought minister, and she is wonderful and a very huge prosperity advocate. So it's like, okay, there must be something about it if Catherine Ponder has given a foreword to the book. But like anything, does it matter who Paula Ryan is that wrote the book? Does it matter what her credentials are? Anytime somebody tells us something, we should be taking that in and thinking about it for ourselves and deciding, does this fit for me? Is this my truth? Does it resonate for me? And if it doesn't, then that's not something we have to grasp onto. We need to make sure that our life resonates with us. I have a friend back in Kentucky that was a practitioner student with me, and she was going through identifying what her beliefs were and getting rid of a lot of the beliefs that her family had that didn't really work for her, and identifying what it was she really believed. And her partner said, so, what is this science of mind stuff? You just get to choose what you believe? And she said, yep, pretty much. And you know, that's what we're called to do, is really identify for ourselves. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, said, don't take what I say, listen, and then go within. And this is between you and Spirit, and what resonates for you. No one religion, no one group of people have the truth for everybody. We all have to identify what it is that is our truth. And one of the things I love about Science of Mind, you know, we have our Science of Mind symbol, and it's open at the top. Mazia, our wonderful artist here, does our symbol, but you know, the V in the symbol is open at the top because Ernest, the founder, said, I don't have all the answers. He was always open to new experience, to new impressions from Spirit, to new understanding. And if you read through Ernest's writings, and I've done a lot of this in my practitioner studies, some of the books that he wrote early on are much different in the language he uses than the books he wrote later in life, because his beliefs changed. God did not change. Spirit, his source, did not change. but his beliefs and how he interpreted things changed throughout his life. And so we're called to change our beliefs as we need to make them work for us. And that's challenging. Don't take what I say and believe it. You have to decide for yourself what works for you. You have to make this philosophy your philosophy. So being open at the top, open to new inspirations and ideas, is very important. Giving thanks is also very important. That attitude should not change. If I want to expand my good every day, then I need to keep a positive attitude. If I look for good every day in everything going on in my life, I'll see good. If I look for bad every day, then that's what I see in my life. Isn't that amazing how it shows up? While I was in Kentucky a few weeks ago, I heard a speaker say, the only power you have is where you put your attention. The only power you have is where you put your attention. Now to me, that really resonated. Think about that for a minute. For those of you that want a reference from the Bible talks about guarding our minds, having the same mind as Christ Jesus. Jesus knew his oneness with God, and knowing that, he understood that he had unlimited power. He confidently spoke his word, and it was always non-judgmental, loving, forgiving. So from Paula's book here, I get a new concept for me in the thought of tithing. She first talks about tithing of your thoughts. Now, you know, we've all heard about tithing of your talent, your time, and your treasure. But tithing of your thoughts? As I read that, you know, it's kind of science of mindy, as Tom would say to me. Tithing of your thoughts. If you put out good into the universe, what do you think you're going to get? Good back, right? On page 21 here, she says, people from ancient cultures understood their mind, body, and soul. Every possession and every idea they had were instruments or channels of their abundance, which came from whatever name they gave to the universal spirit. This is clear from Egyptian hieroglyphics, from Babylonian cuneiform tablets, as well as Greek and Roman writings. Ancient Romans, for example, poured the first wine from each year's harvest onto the ground before taking a sip themselves, giving back the first portion to Mother Nature, whom they believed had graciously given it to them. Before tithing was ever recorded in writing, it was handed down from generation to generation and understood as the divine law of prosperity. Tithing was seen for what it was, an action to be taken in order to give thanks for the abundance that had already been manifested, and to give thanks in advance for the greater good that was yet to come. Are we expecting good in our lives? Where are our thoughts? On page 114 in the book, she says, your desires manifest when you change your attitude, your expectations to reflect your true self-worth. What are we expecting? She says tithing is a form of intentional giving. By tithing, you give back to the universe a portion of what the universe has given to you as a way of saying, thank you for supporting me in my ventures here on this planet. I like that definition. A form of intentional giving. So I can look for the positive or I can look for the negative. What do I want to choose? I can tell you that I was raised in a family where the negative kind of outran the positive most days. We were usually told, how poor we were, how we couldn't afford something, how I wasn't good enough. It was always focused on the negative, the lack, instead of the positive. But understanding this, I can give up that belief. That belief for me is in process of changing. I want to say it's changed, but there's still days that, I doubt some of that. Mm-hmm. So, being honest, it's in process of changing. To consciously tithe my thoughts, I can first set that intention to look for the positive, to see how good things are in my life. This takes me back to my 12-step training that says I should have an attitude of gratitude, being grateful for everything each day. If I'm looking for things to be thankful for, there's not a whole lot of time to look for things to be negative about. So the only power I have is where I put my intention and my attention. Here's one technique that Paula talks about in her book. I thought I had these little pages marked. It's kind of worse than flipping through the book. One woman shared a technique with me that reminds her of her abundance. She uses a little notebook to keep track of income, expenses, and gifts she receives every day. If someone buys her lunch, she records the dollar amount of the lunch as a gift. If she finds a dime on the sidewalk, she records 10 cents as a gift. If someone offers to carpool with her and she doesn't have to drive that day, she records the money saved in gas and automobile wear and tear as a gift. If she's out shopping and the item she intended to buy is on sale, she records the difference between the regular price and the sale price as a gift. Whenever she receives a hug, she records how much the hug meant to her as a gift. She carefully records monetary value for each gift so she can clearly see her abundance. One day, when I was out and about, I decided to try this gift recording technique. The results were astonishing. First, I dropped off a prescription at the pharmacy and got free lollipops, value 25 cents. Then I went to lunch and offered prosperity-oriented marketing advice to the restaurant owner. I received a free $15 lunch and 2 free loaves of bread, $7. Back at the pharmacy, the expensive prescription I was able to get filled with a generic medicine, a gift of $70. At the grocery store, 2 of the items on my list were buy one, get one free, so I received $6 worth of free groceries. And last but not least, I got perhaps the oddest gift of all, a free pap smear. I shouldn't explain that. I have to say, we don't always recognize the form of that our abundance takes. My total gifts for that day were $208.25, not a penny of which came in the form of legal tender. So are we looking for the good? Are we putting value on what we really get in life? Or do we think it's only the dollar bills that we get? I get to choose the thoughts that I have and to learn new thought patterns. What is it that blocks me from being grateful for everything in my life right now? Is there something that blocks you from being grateful for all that you have right now? So this new idea of tithing of my thoughts is a way to create the best life I can, always looking at the positive. Emma Curtis Hopkins, considered in New Thought the teacher of teachers, said, "If you see a sign, give thanks." Now, Emma didn't say, if you see a good sign, give thanks. She said, if you see a sign, give thanks. So that means you go for the job interview and you find out you didn't get the job. Give thanks. That's a sign. Did you really want to be working in the wrong place? For the wrong boss? It might be kind of hard to think that way. But you know, if you really trust that the universe is working for you, then that's not the right place for you. The sale falls through on the house. Something happens that doesn't look like good in your life. If you give thanks, you'll find the good. Spirit, the universe will be taking care of you. We always have to give thanks, go to a higher level in order to see a different perspective. Now, tithing of your talent. I know what some of you are probably thinking, oh, come on, I can't sing like Michael Gott. You know, I'd love to sing like Karen Drucker, but she's so much better than I am. Nobody should hear me sing in public. I have no talent, Rick. I can't tithe of my talent. Nobody would want that. I have a quote from Ernest on my wall in my office that says, "We are bound by nothing except belief." So what is our belief? Is our belief that we have no talent? Because I'm here to tell you, each one of you has a talent. Probably more than one. In fact, I'm sure you have more than one. Your talent might be listening to others. Your talent might be cooking. Your talent might be your ability to smile, to offer to hold somebody's hand when they need it. You may be the best hugger there is. Your talent might be going to visit somebody or writing notes. I have a friend that will write personal notes, and I heard the minister in Louisville, where I came from, talk about nobody writes notes these days. Do you ever get a handwritten note? And this guy will handwrite a little thank you note and send it off to people. That's a talent. Would you really identify that as a talent? Probably not. But if you think about it, that's his way of putting out his talent, something he can do positive into the world. A talent may be going to help somebody change the lock on their door or replace some light bulbs. It may be volunteering to help Reverend Alma with a mailing she's doing or doing some weekly chore in the office for her. There's lots of things that we can do. A talent might be pet sitting for somebody, house sitting for them, maybe adult sitting, babysitting. There's a lot of different things that can be a talent here. Maybe it's giving a ride to somebody. You know, I heard a few people talking about giving a ride to somebody to the airport. A talent might be encouraging others, or even encouraging yourself. A talent might be that you can exercise with somebody. So there's lots of things. Painting, finding bargains. How many people like to shop? You know, that may be a real talent to find the bargains at the store. I never can find those. But I know there are people that can. We can see those talents in other people. I encourage you to look for those talents in yourself. So tithing of your talent means allowing yourself to give what you can. Paula says in her book, approach everything you do with gratitude and joy, even if it's not what you truly desire to be doing at the moment. Approach everything with the attitude of gratitude and joy. Now, tithing of your time. If you give part of your day or your week to God, what do you think that would look like? Maybe it's fixing food for Fellowship Sunday. Maybe it's attending a class here, a discussion group, or coming to Sunday services. That's certainly part of giving your time back, right? Maybe it's packing and unpacking before and after the service for the center. We have some people that are very good at that, and I'm sure they're always willing to allow people to help. Giving of your time might be helping Reverend Alma in some way, asking what she needs. It may be bringing flowers for the service, so she doesn't have to stop by the store and get those. Adding beauty to life. Giving of your time may be going by the hospital to visit somebody or a nursing home. It doesn't have to be a member of the center. It could be somebody in your family. It could be your neighbor. You're giving of your time, your positive energy to that person and out to the universe. Maybe giving of your time is participating in a neighborhood cleanup or volunteering for a fundraiser. We just heard about a fundraiser this morning, didn't we? Maybe giving of your time is taking a card and just seeing how many people can you have scratched on your card. I think that's a great idea. Thank you for that, Judy. Giving of your time is also taking time to pray for the center, to pray for others here, and pray for yourself. In Paula's book, she asks, how do you spend most of your time? Worrying or trusting? On page 111, she says, when people donate their time to watch my dog, give me a massage, take me to dinner, give me books, spend time sharing ideas with me, etc., I value those things. What I value shows up more and more in my life. My desires manifest when I change my attitude to expectation, to reflect my true self-worth. Now she goes through a whole section here that I won't read you, but she says for a 30-day period she decided, I'm going to say that my life is worth $4,000 a day. That got your attention, didn't you? $4,000 a day. My life is worth $4,000 a day. Now she wasn't in a job where she was getting paid $4,000 a day, but she said, my life is worth that. Okay, Spirit, show me this. So she got out her little pad and she started going through looking at the value of what she did every day. She says, replace your expectations with anticipation. Expectancy transports you from a mindset that wonders, what will I get? To a mindset of, how will what I get come into my life? Expectancy incorporates a knowingness. Science of Mind says we know that there is good and only good. So if I expect good and only good, that's what I'm going to get. Now at the end of her little experiment, she said, I didn't rack up $4,000 a day, but she said I was sure a lot more prosperous than I was at the beginning of the month. And my whole mindset had changed to be looking for the good in my life. A nice challenge for us. So we have to consider last here, tithing of our treasure. Now you knew I'd get to this point, didn't you? For some of you, here's a new idea. Reverend Jesse Jennings, the minister at Creative Life Church in Houston, says that tithing, and he writes in our Science of Mind magazine each month, he says tithing in the Bible comes from a practice where the government taxed the people. And so when the churches were organizing, they thought, how are we going to get money in order to function? So, like the government taxed the people, they decided they would kind of tax the people. So that was their tithe. You have to give to God. Give to the church here. We'll be happy to take God's money for you. Just give it to us here. And then, when they didn't get enough money, or as much as they wanted, they said things like, it's more blessed to give than to receive. How much are you giving? You should be giving more. if you're really blessed, you should be giving more. If it's really more blessed to give than receive, Reverend Jesse Jennings says, then you'd have all these people running around giving all the time and nobody there to receive. So there's this natural flow in life. Is it better to breathe in or breathe out? Is it better for the tide to roll in or for the tide to roll out? We need both, don't we? We have to breathe in and breathe out. The water has to flow in and flow out. If there's not that flow, that movement, then we become stagnant. Just like a lake that has no way to get filled becomes stagnant if it's not receiving new water and letting out old water. So our lives, if we're not taking in new and releasing old, then we don't have that flow and our lives become stagnant. Have you ever been that way? Where you thought, oh, I got this money, I've got to hold on to this, this is all I'll ever get. Whereas if we trust the universe, that in that great flow, that there is good and more good for us. As we get it, then we give it out. And as we do that, there is that flow, that energy. Because money is just energy, and energy is all around us. So remember what Paula says in her book? That tithing is intentional giving. So what are you intentionally giving out to the universe? Now she gives an idea here that I don't particularly, I like the idea, but it's not one that I fully embrace. And she talks about tithing to where you're spiritually fed that week. So with her, she will tithe to an artist. You know, she saw this piece of artwork, it really spoke to her, it was so good, and so she sends her tithe to that artist. She hears this musician, and so that really speaks to her soul, and she sends her tithe to that musician. So wherever she is being fed spiritually, she's sending money off to that person. Now I think that's great for tithes, that's good for offerings, but for tithing, for a base giving, I think we need to give it to our spiritual center. And for us here, that's important. Because just like you have a household income, we have a budget that we have to function on here. I'm not the minister, so I can say this. Don't we have a budget right now?
Yes, thanks.
So, I don't fully embrace that piece of what Paula says, but what did I say in the beginning? When somebody says something to you, take it in, see if it works for you, figure out if it's your truth, and then discard it if it doesn't. So, for me, I think it works better if I'm fully giving to my spiritual center. And then I can give offerings to a musician, to an artist, to somebody who supports me in some way. And I think that's great to be able to do that. I had one minister share a story where somebody gave a tithe or an offering directly to her. And she said it was interesting because that week I had just been praying about she wanted to go to this conference. And she wasn't sure that she had the money for the airfare. And don't you know that offering that came in was the exact amount of her airfare. So the Spirit does give to us as we open ourselves. And we have to be willing to give out so that we can get in. If you try to hold on to water, you're not going to be able to hold it. But if you open your hand, it will stay there. So it is with giving of our tithes. As we allow the flow in our lives, we're energized. Giving consistently makes for a good life, and we can see good and more good in our lives. Intentional giving, I think that's important for each of us to be open to. I'm going to end with a time of treatment. And so I invite you to just relax. As we know that there is one power, one presence in the Spirit, in this world, in our lives. And we are each one with that power and that presence. We are unlimited because our source is unlimited. I know my source is unlimited, and I consciously choose to expand the flow of good in my life now. I open my ears and my heart to the inspiration of Spirit. I listen for the still small voice to guide me in my right and perfect thoughts of how I can support myself spiritually, of how I can support this center spiritually. I give and receive of all that comes into my life. I listen now for the guidance of the divine within me. With a heart of gratitude for all that I have been given, I am thankful. And I release my word into the universe that always says yes. And so it is.
Beautiful.
And so it's your turn now. Questions? Comments?
I find your message very clear and really go straight to the point.
Thank you.
It is something that I always, sometimes the word tithing for some is like it has been abused by some people, and the way you presented it was very clear, and also it's a meaning of you tithe in different ways, because sometimes even the person that thinks doesn't have anything, they have a lot by giving from themselves. So that's tithing too. Yeah, beautiful.
Tithing in so many ways.
Yes.
Yes, and I love when you said people that think they don't have anything to give. I'm a nurse by training, and I worked in the hospital for years. I've worked in ICU. I've seen people on their deathbed that were giving out so much love, so much hope to their family. So we all have something to give if we just open ourselves to that. Thank you.
You mentioned in Paula's book that she had this experience from one lady that she knew. That experience, I think it's the same idea that Judy introduced some time ago, possibly about a year ago. She called it unexpected income. Same idea of sale from a goods or being treated to lunch or a ride or something. And Reverend Alma can tell you, it's the budget, how much we have raised over the period of time. It's phenomenal. It's a great way of boosting up the budget. So that's the review.
And it all begins with a thought.
That's all.
So we have to look for
Yeah.
where it is that we're being blessed there, being open to that.
And just to add to that unexpected income program, I said I was sitting here. I said I forgot to tell Rick he should mention the unexpected program. We raised, I think, last year for the unexpected income program, brought in, I think it was $4,000 last year, which meant that our overall congregation receive $40,000 extra dollars in their life. So of course I practice the program, and I practice the program of tithing, and so I can really support you and what you're saying about tithing. I do appreciate your bringing it to my awareness again. Our talents, our special talents, and the different ways that we can give. Wherein I think when I smile, oh, it's just something I do. I mean, it's something come out. I don't plan to do it. Just comes out. But you just brought it to my mind that this was a talent that I have, and that all of us have, and that if we just began focusing on giving a smile to everyone, that will begin to change the flow of energy in our life. Just a smile, or becoming conscious of focusing on a handshake. What are you feeling from that other person when you shake their hand? Thank you for just bringing it back to my awareness.
And if I'm recording that in my little book of all the things I'm getting, putting a value, monetary value on it,
yes,
your smiles are priceless. Thank you for that.
It's my talent.
Yes, it is.
And it's a time in our lives when a smile even increases in value. It really uplifts everyone.
Very true. Very true.
We're so magnificent, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.